going to talk about prosperity. Who doesn't like prosperity? So that's going to be our topic today. It's so important to talk about being prosperous and what you can do to just really create a prosperous world around yourself. And I see someone on Periscope saying they need this because they just broke up with their guy. We're going to talk about that a little bit in this too, as far as how it relates prosperity to not just money, So let's get started. I want you guys to just think about, because I think most of us have had the experience of being someplace that we felt like we did not belong. Somewhere we felt like we didn't belong. And it could have been, you know, a bad neighborhood, or it could have been in a room full of people that the energy just didn't feel right. We've all had that experience of feeling like we did not belong somewhere. And that feeling is really beneficial because it could be beneficial to our survival, our physical survival, or even our emotional well-being if it's around people who really are not providing us with a very nurturing environment. So feeling like you don't belong in those type of settings is actually a good thing. And that's something that, you know, our instincts and our gut helps us to just really survive. But what happens? What happens when you feel out of place, and feel like you don't belong in a situation that you need to kind of plug into to go to that next level in life? So have you ever had that feeling of you didn't belong somewhere you felt like it was out of your league? Because that can be the one thing that gets in the way of you moving on to a more prosperous or a prosperous mindset and really planting that seed of prosperity with you. So what happens when you feel like you don't belong in a place you need to plug into to go to that next level? And when I talk about prosperity, I want you guys to know prosperity has many aspects to it, many facets to prosperity. We all know about, and most people think about, financial prosperity. But what about also health prosperity? What about relationship prosperity? I see someone, as I said, on the Periscope broadcast now who says she just broke up with her boyfriend and she's unhappy. So all of these type of things are just areas in our life that we can feel prosperous in. And there are so many examples of people who actually sabotage their prosperity or sabotage their prosperity in these areas. A lot of times because of the early messaging that they got, that prosperity was not for them, it's for a select few, and they weren't lucky enough to get that golden ticket of prosperity, and that's all false. But so many of us have to really be and do an honest assessment to really, be honest with ourselves. Are we sabotaging our own prosperity in any of these areas, be it financial, be it relationship, be it health? So when I think about just my experience with really noticing prosperity, I can go back to even my first year or first semester of undergrad, and how so many of my peers, so many of the people who started with me did not make it through that first year, let alone that first semester, because it was so evident so early on that many of them just felt like they didn't belong there. They didn't belong on this college campus because it was so radically different than what they'd ever experienced before. And because they didn't feel like they didn't belong, a lot of them just withdrew. A lot of them just stopped going because it felt to them out of their league. And many were not able to overcome that feeling of not belonging. So over the years, even I've treated countless individuals and patients and clients and coaching clients who have sabotaged relationships, like, intimate relationships and even friendships with individuals who could have potentially offered them a relationship unlike anything they'd ever experienced before, and that would represent prosperity. But because it was so unfamiliar to them, and it was so unlike any other relationship they'd ever experienced, they subconsciously did things to sabotage that relationship success. We can think of prosperity as it relates to health regimens. We're still in the early part of the new year, March. So a lot of people who started health regimens in January that may have had some success early on in the first few weeks, have found themselves reverting back to old habits. They've thrown in the towel. Because a healthy self is so unfamiliar to them, they feel like they don't belong in that realm of a healthy self, and it's something that they've convinced themselves it's not in the cards for them. And I see a lot of people Periscope can feel that, indicating with the hearts there. But we have to really be honest with ourselves in so many of these areas of prosperity, what we have done to sabotage that. Not just financial, like I said, there are so many areas of prosperity, but what even about that business ideal that you've had that business ideal you've had for so long that you may have even shared with friends and family and envisioned yourself succeeding at it, but you can't seem to find the motivation to get off the ground because, again, that prosperous mindset when it comes to that is just not there. It's not there. So one of the biggest barriers that I found in helping people who desire to transform their lives and go to the next level, one of their biggest barriers is helping them to understand the need and convincing them the need to really plug into a prosperity mindset as opposed to a poverty mindset. But a prosperity mindset is so important to plug into. And just as with anything I've talked about, just as anything you want to build in life, if we're talking about building a prosperous mindset, there are tools and there are strategies, because I always say with the right tools, anything is possible. And with the right tools, you can build a prosperity mindset for yourself. So I want to share with you 3 tools, 3 things that you can do. You can start doing today. You can start doing when we get off this call in a few minutes to start building a prosperous mindset for yourself. Number 1, you must expose yourself to people, situations, and circumstances that make you feel a little uncomfortable. I know that doesn't sound fun, but it's so necessary. I know you feel anxiety when you're in a place you feel like, that you're out of your league or you're uncomfortable with. But that anxiety is normal, it's natural, and it's necessary. It's necessary because, believe it or not, that anxiety can actually help you perform better. And it's just part of the adjustment period. It's just part of the adjustment period of doing anything, any new experience. But the truth is, the more you do it, the less anxiety you'll have, and the more you'll start noticing this prosperity mindset and seed taking root and blooming, because that's what we wanted to do, right? So expose yourself to new situations, new people, new circumstances. Number 2, you have to have an imagination. I've really come to realize over the years that the people who really fail to kind of go to that next level and embrace a prosperity mindset or embrace a fulfilling life really lack imagination. They lack imagination, they lack vision, and it's so important to have an imagination. Even Robert Kiyosaki, many of you have read, if you haven't read, you've heard about the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. One of the things he said is that if you want to change who you are, you have to begin by changing the size of your dream. Changing the size of your dream. Even if you're broke, it doesn't cost you a thing to imagine being rich. So even if you're broke in relationships, it doesn't cost a thing to imagine having that relationship that really is going to feel good. Even if you're broken in regards to a healthy body, a healthy physical body, it doesn't cost you a thing to imagine yourself with this strong, fit body. Even if you're broken when it comes to your business and your desire to start a business, it doesn't cost you a thing to imagine having this very successful business. Imagination is key to helping you just really develop this prosperity around yourself. So it doesn't cost a thing to just really just plug in and have this imagination. What's the harm in imagining it? I'm always so surprised because a lack of vision, as Nurse 313 just states, really is something I was totally unaware of. I can remember going again back to my college years and a friend that I met in college, and we would talk about just all types of things. But I remember sharing with her how even in high school, I would go to where I'm in Michigan. And so one of the premier areas here, that's a Grosse Pointe, known all around the country as being one of the premier areas. But I remember in high school when I first got my license, just driving through those neighborhoods, up and down the streets, and just imagining one day being able to live in one of these big homes and what it would feel like. And I shared that with her, and she looked at me like I was crazy because I really thought it was something that everyone did. I thought everyone imagined prosperity in their life and that if they didn't have it. But I soon found out that that was not true, but it's still so necessary for us to really plant that imagination and plug into that imagination. And the last step is get rid of this scarcity mindset. This scarcity mindset that there's not enough. Some of you guys woke up this morning thinking there's not enough time today. I don't have enough money today. I don't have enough resources to get whatever it is you need to get done. So for many of us, the first waking thought of the day is, I don't have enough, fill in the blank. And whether it's true or not, if it occurs to us automatically, it becomes the truth. So we want to get rid of that scarcity mindset we have. We spend so many of our waking hours just complaining and thinking about what we don't have enough. And we live with scarcity as an underlying assumption of our life. And we really have to challenge that. We got to shift. We have to shift this belief. We have to shift this belief of scarcity and embrace the ideal of sufficiency. I can remember when I finished up my PhD program and I had a ceremony and I was sharing with a lot of the people there, because people would say, well, how were you able to do this? You work full time. You had 2.5 kids at the time. You had a family, just trying to start your practice. How in the world were you able to do this? And one thing that I found true then, and I continue to find true now, is that when you have a prosperous mindset, it's like time, not just time, but money will supernaturally expand for you. So where you thought there was not enough time, all of a sudden there becomes enough time. There becomes enough resources. There becomes enough people to help you. But if you have that scarcity mindset, that will never be the case. So get rid of that. Time to shift that belief system and go into an ideal of sufficiency, And this goes back to the whole ideal of there's not enough, like if someone has your ideal that you may have had, then you're not able to fulfill that ideal. So I want to give you an example. Someone in my coaching group shared how she has this ideal for a business and she wanted to really get this business off the ground. And she was so deflated to find out someone else had started the same business in the same city that she wanted to start the business in. And you know, for me, I looked and I said, okay, so why did that stop you? And she was adamant, you know, because if one person started this business, that means it's not enough for her, right? And so what I shared with her was like, you know, imagine if Burger King said there's no need to open this burger joint because McDonald's already exists. You know, imagine if we could just think of so many things. Some designer said, I'm not going to start my clothing line because, you know, there's already Calvin Klein out there. Or what if Chrysler decided we're not going to roll out any more cars, or we're not even going to start mass car production because Ford already had the lock on that. I mean, that's ridiculous. There's more than enough for all of us out here. I don't care what your field is, what your desire is. And as Lori Cherie says, if God gives you a vision, he'll provide the provision. That is so true. My office is in a building with at least 15 to 20 other psychologists, but that did not stop me from opening my office up in that building. And I'm not, you know, I'm doing quite well there because you have to have this ideal that there is sufficiency and there's plenty for all of us. This is what keeps a lot of us from helping each other too, because we feel like we have to be the only one with this ideal. And so get rid of that. It's so important for us to just really squash that ideal and embrace and shift and go into this ideal of sufficiency. So exposure, imagination, the ideal that there's enough for all of us creates an energy that inevitably will attract abundance and more prosperity in your life. These are simple steps. These steps don't cost you anything, but I'm telling you guys from experience, from watching other people who've been successful in doing this, it works. So prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just money or things. And conversely, poverty is a way of living and thinking and not just money or things. And many of you unknowingly, many of us, we've all been guilty of it, but you know, we can stop that today. But many of us have unknowingly have made poverty mindset our default setting. It's our homepage when we wake up in the morning and open our eyes. But now is the time to reprogram, reboot, and start living your life in full bloom. I want to thank you guys for joining me today.